Yo, what is good, everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel, and in this video, I'm just going to be quickly talking about Mike Williams in fantasy, and more specifically, how I think the emergence of Justin Herbert as a seemingly up-and-coming young quarterback could help Mike Williams both in the long term and for this season. But before we do that, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more fantasy football content. And with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about Mike Williams here. So, Mike Williams, for those of you who might have forgot, was once upon a time the 7th overall pick in the first round of the 2017 rookie draft. Okay? So, he's got the draft capital invested in him, right? So, if he has the capital, he has the size, he has the speed to be a good player. And if you take a look at his production, he even has the production to some extent to be not only a good player, but a great player. You look at his 2017 season, we'll throw that out because it was his rookie year. He was dealing with injury, I believe, his rookie season. He only played 10 games, started 1, 23 targets. Can't really make anything out of that, right? So moving on to 2018, he played 16 games, started 5. He only had 66 targets, but he did have 10 receiving touchdowns, 10, double digits. That's very, very impressive, especially on only 66 targets. That's incredible. Like, I cannot overstate that enough, how impressive that is to have 10 touchdowns in general, right? Even if you have over 100 targets, that's impressive. He had 66, and he had 10 touchdowns, right? So we can all agree, very good, very impressive. Looking at 2019, he didn't have the touchdowns, but he had the yards. He technically had a 1,000-yard season. It was 1,001 yards, but he did it. He cracked 1,000 yards. So he showed that he can have the touchdowns and the yards. He just didn't do it in the same season. And then you look at his targets and receptions that year. His targets went up by quite a bit. He went from 66 to 90, but his catches only went from 43 to 49. And that can be explained by his catch rate right here. 2018, it keeps moving, sorry about that. 2018, it went from 65.2, 2019, 54.4. So catch rate went down, but either way, he's had a double-digit receiving touchdown season and a 1,000-yard season. He just didn't put it together, right? So he has the size, the speed, the draft capital, and to some extent, the production to be a good player, like I said. But the problem with him has been consistency. Now, I traded for him in Dynasty in September of 2019. I traded away Christian Kirk and D.D. Westbrook to get Mike Williams. And that might not seem like it might be like, okay, D.D. and Christian Kirk are irrelevant, right? But at the time, you have to think September 2019, D.D. and Kirk were both guys that were kind of drafted in like the middle rounds of redraft leagues to potentially be breakout receivers that could start for your 10 to 12 team redraft league. So for me to trade those two players away for Mike Williams, it kind of indicates, how I was feeling about Mike Williams. I was like, okay, he's about to blow up. But the problem that he's experienced is a little bit of inconsistency, right? And part of that is because he's had to deal with Phillip Rivers, particularly last season, 2019, where Phillip Rivers, he looked really bad. And that's no discredit to Phillip Rivers. He is an amazing quarterback. He could be one of the best quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl. I don't know if he's quite on Dan Marino's level, but, he's up there, right? And he's kind of like on the verge of being a Hall of Famer. If he had won a Super Bowl, I think we can all agree that he probably would be like a Hall of Fame lock. But because he hasn't won a Super Bowl, he might not make the Hall of Fame. But regardless, he's had good production. He's had a very, very good career. Borderline Hall of Famer, if not a Hall of Famer, for Phillip Rivers. But 2019, that was not who he was. He was pretty bad. If you watched a Chargers game, he just did not look good. It looks like his arm just isn't there anymore. You're seeing it in 2020 that, Phillip Rivers isn't looking good. I know the Colts are winning, but that seems like it's more on the back of their defense than Phillip Rivers, because he just hasn't looked very good the last couple of years. So Mike Williams did have to deal with Phillip Rivers' quarterback play. And I don't know, it seems like he was kind of checking the ball down a little bit compared to pushing the ball downfield for Mike Williams. But it just seems like Phillip Rivers is more prone to checking the ball down, right? I mean, you look at Austin Eckler in the 2019 season, he had so many catches. So, obviously Phillip Rivers was checking the ball down quite a bit. So I'm not going to lie, I was quite worried about the Chargers passing game heading into this season. I wasn't really excited about Mike Williams. So much so that I was looking to trade away Keenan Allen, who I have in my dynasty team, in my dynasty league. And I ended up finding a good trade for him. I traded him for the second overall pick in the 2020 rookie draft, and I was able to get Jonathan Taylor with that pick. And then I also won our consolation bracket, so I got the first overall pick in the rookie draft. So I drafted Clyde with the first pick, Jonathan Taylor with the second overall pick. So that worked out. But Keenan Allen actually has looked pretty good this year as well, because this passing game was saved by a young rookie quarterback named Justin Herbert. So, coming into the 2020 season, the quarterbacks on the Chargers roster were Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert. And in my mind, that's a big red flag. You got Tyrod Taylor, who has never really been the type of guy to support a fantasy wide receiver. And you have Justin Herbert, who is a rookie quarterback. He was drafted high, but he wasn't the same type of prospect as a Joe Burrow. He just wasn't. It just didn't look like that. So I wasn't really excited about that. So that's why I was trying to sell Keenan Allen in Dynasty, which I did. But Tyrod Taylor, he had a punctured lung early in the season from a team doctor, I believe it was. He was getting some sort of injection. They punctured his lung. He missed the game, right? So Justin Herbert started that game. And then after the game, Justin Herbert played well, but the coach was like, Tyrod Taylor is our starter. Herbert played well, but Tyrod's our guy. Well, Tyrod Taylor still had to miss some games, and Herbert has been playing so well that the coaching staff is now forced to stick with Herbert because they just cannot afford to take him off the field because he's looked that good. If you look at Justin Herbert, who's looked amazing, he's not really checking the ball down or anything like that. It's not just yak production. He's literally standing in the pocket and just rifling the ball down the field. He looks amazing. He looks strong, just throwing the ball down the field. Like I said, he's not checking the ball down. And he also has a little bit of mobility, so he can extend plays. And like I said, he just has a rocket arm. So far this season, he's had good production, and he's kept the Chargers in games against the Chiefs, Buccaneers, and Saints. So that's Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees. And they should have won. I can't remember the other games, but against the Saints, which is the most recent game that they played, he put them in position to win that game. They should have won that game. So he looks very good. He's doing it with some Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and he's looking very good. I'm not trying to say he's a Hall of Famer or anything, but he's looked amazing. We can all agree. I'm not breaking any news here. So that's kind of why I'm excited about Mike Williams moving forward. It's as simple as that. I'll get into some more detailed stuff moving forward, but taking a look at his contract, he is under contract until 2021. So they did exercise his 5th-year option, it says right here. So I don't know how long he's going to be on the Chargers. I don't know if he's going to stay on the team past this 2021 mark. Keenan Allen right now is 28. He'll be 29 next season. So I'm not really sure what the receiving core is going to look like in a couple years. But what we do know is that as long as Herbert stays on the team and keeps playing well, which I would assume he would, he's going to be very, very friendly for all pass catchers for the Chargers. Just because he's fantasy friendly because he's mobile, he can extend the play, he's aggressive, he'll throw the ball downfield, and he's not just dinking and dunking the ball. So that's why I'm really excited about Justin Herbert and just basically the whole Chargers offense for fantasy moving forward. He does look like the real deal. He is a rookie, so while he's looked amazing so far, he could struggle with consistency moving forward, as a lot of rookie quarterbacks, they will have bad games. Rookie players in general, it's the NFL. It's hard to just walk in and consistently be amazing, even though that's pretty much what he's done so far. He might have a bad game here and there. So that's one thing that could hinder Mike Williams, in addition to Mike Williams' own inconsistency that he's experienced. But with that being said, the Chargers do have the weapons to kind of take the pressure off of Mike Williams. Justin Herbert has plenty of options in the passing game. So that will help a little bit with that consistency for Herbert. And, having those other options will take, like I said, some attention off of Mike Williams. So he could be a little bit inconsistent still, given his high yards per target that he's generally gotten. But he has very, very high weekly upside with Justin Herbert at quarterback, because he's a quarterback who's finally willing to just chuck him the ball, which is what Mike Williams is good at. And we'll take a look at week 5, what Mike Williams did. He had 25.4 fantasy points in half PPR, 5 targets on 8 receptions, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And as you can see, he's on my bench. And you want to know who I played over him? I played Zach Pascal. who had 2.5 points. So that was a terrible mistake. I saw that Mike Williams was questionable with a hamstring injury, I believe it was, which is also something you need to monitor this season. A hamstring injury can always creep back up. Hamstrings are tricky, but he was questionable with a hamstring injury. It was a later game against the Saints, rookie quarterback. I wasn't really feeling it, even though Herbert's been playing well. I'm like, maybe, this is a time to stay away. But clearly I made the wrong choice. Mike Williams outscored Pascal by basically 20 points, 19.9 points. We'll just call it 20. And I ended up losing by 20. So, yeah. Wait, so if I would have played Mike Williams, I would have had 134.76 points, I believe. Oh, dude, why did I play Mike Williams? I would have won by like this much. That would have been so epic. So just to quickly touch on some of his like yards per target metrics and stuff like that could impact Mike Williams' consistency moving forward. As we talked about, Mike Williams really started playing in 2018 as sort of like a regular, guy in the offense. So if you take a look at the 2018 season right here, we're going to look at some individual statistics. So if you look at yards per target, Mike Williams is number 15 in the league in 2018. What was his yards per reception? It was 15.4, which would be 14th in the NFL, right? So he's kind of up there in terms of yards per target, yards per reception in 2018. We're gonna move forward to 2019. Take a look at that same type of metric here. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because if you have a higher yards per target, you're more, you're the long touchdown, right? You could get a long touchdown, big plays, but you're more prone to maybe some bust games because you're not getting those safe underneath targets. Like a Michael Thomas, that's why Michael Thomas is generally so consistent, because he's running these short routes, especially in PPR. He's getting points for all these catches. He's just, slowly but surely accumulating all these little dink and dunk plays where at the end of the game, he has a lot of yards. Whereas Mike Williams, he requires more of like big chunk plays, which are harder to connect on. But that's kind of, like I said, why I'm excited about Justin Herbert, because he's willing to make those throws downfield. You look at 2019, his yards per target, 11.1, again, going downfield, but his catch rate was terrible, 54.4%. Look at the other guys around him. I mean, no one's under 60 until you get to Mike Evans, who had Jameis Winston. Michael Gallup is a little bit lower. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at the guys up here, though, they're above 60%. So Mike Williams had a high yards per target, but his catch percentage was terrible. Is that his fault or Phillip Rivers' fault? I don't know, but Phillip Rivers did not have a good season. What was his yards per reception? It was 20.4. That was the highest in the NFL last season. So again, he has big play upside. And last year, he only had 2 touchdowns despite leading the league in yards per reception, which is insane to me. And then we're just going to, this season, we don't really know yet. It's not even really worth paying attention to these metrics so far this season, because he left the game week 3 versus Carolina early. I believe he left in the second half, beginning of the second half, end of the first half. I can't remember, but he left that game. He missed week 4, and then he came back in week 5, had a good game. So moving forward, sky's the limit, right? Like, I'm not saying, go sell the farm to get him, but if he's on your waiver wire, or if you want to make a trade, he's a guy who could potentially blow up. Again, I want to warn you guys that he has had consistency issues in the past, and even though Herbert is playing well, he could struggle with that because, like I said, I'll just recap it quickly. His depth of target is always pretty high, right? So he's not going to have the security of those short underneath routes typically, unless they change something, right? So you got that. You got his hamstring injury, which he played. He looked good, but you never know. It could creep back up. And Justin Herbert is a rookie quarterback. So even though he's looked amazing, he will struggle at some point, most likely. Probably. We don't know for sure, but most rookies struggle at some point. So those are some things that could hinder his consistency. But just in terms of pure upside, Mike Williams does have a lot of upside. I'm really excited about him. I was sort of regretting that trade I made for him in Dynasty. Not really, because Kirk and Dede turned out to really not be that great, at least to this point. As I'm recording this, you never know, things change very drastically in fantasy. But now that Mike Williams has a quarterback who's willing to give him the ball down the field, I'm a little bit more excited about Mike Williams. So that was kind of just the whole point of this video, was to just say, keep your eye out for Mike Williams, because he's on the rise. This whole offense is on the rise. So that is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more fantasy football content, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.